Welcome to Season 7 of the Game Changing Attorney Podcast. To kick off this new season, we're bringing the workshop floor of Crisp HQ into the studio. We asked our clients to record their most pressing questions live on camera, and today we're responding to some of the top submissions. I'm Michael Mogill, founder and CEO of Crisp, the nation's #1 law firm growth company. I've built my business through practice, not theory. Crisp started with just $500 to my name and has grown to over 8 figures in revenue over the last few years, earning a spot on the Inc. 500 list of the fastest growing private companies in America. Our approach has been to take everything we've learned about generating massive growth within our own organization and help the country's most ambitious and committed law firm owners do the same for theirs. In each episode of this podcast, I sit down with innovative market leaders from the legal industry and beyond to learn from those who thrive in the face of adversity, challenge the status quo, and define what it means to be a true game changer.
This is Jessica, Head of Coaching Strategy at Crisp, and today we're starting this new season with something special. We're answering client questions all about how to start the new year right, captured on camera during our most recent workshops here at Crisp HQ. You'll hear and see them on screen exactly as they were asked for Michael to give unfiltered answers.
One of the things that you can gain by having a great team around you and great mentors or great coaches and so on is that you can avoid a lot of the suffering.
That's coming up on the Game Changing Attorney Podcast. All right, we have a very special episode of the AMMA today. So we are just wrapping up our Q4 workshops here at Crisp HQ, and we wanted to know what is on everyone's mind. What are they thinking about going into the new year? And who better to ask than you yourself, Michael? So we picked a handful of questions at random here, and I am very excited to see what you have.
Let's see what we got, what questions they're asking. Hopefully we can answer them.
I hope so.
All right, let's run it. Who we got?
Hi, Michael. My name is Jessica Thaler out of Thaler Law from Georgetown, Texas. My question to you is, what do we do when we've learned that we have a current employee who seems to be a bad apple within the firm? And we had a new employee come in, and that employee was not treating that new employee well, and that employee now wants to leave, the new employee who would be a great asset to our team. If we fire and let go the bad apple, which is what we should do, it's going to totally dismantle our company culture. But if we don't, then we risk that person continuing to be a bad apple. So what do we do in that situation?
Okay, all right.
We've all been here.
Yeah. You know, I was just thinking, I wasn't thinking about apples, but it was Jessica's asking this. I was thinking about mandarins. And you know me, I love some mandarins. I mean, I probably go through, I don't know, sometimes 4, 5, 6 mandarins a day.
You do.
Maybe we buy those bags of mandarins and, you know.
You buy them in bulk.
Buy them in bulk. Sometimes, you know, the bags that come, you know, in the little nets.
Yes.
And then sometimes they're called cuties, but they're mandarins. They're seedless oranges that you can peel. And I was thinking the other day, I went to grab one and I touched one and it was like all soft. My finger went straight through and it was spoiled. You know what I did with that thing?
I hope you threw it away.
I threw it away immediately.
Well, that's good.
So bringing it back to this question, Jessica, you know what to do. We started off on this question because you can't say your culture is going to go down or to shit by letting go of a bad apple. I mean, if that's what's going to happen if you let them go, what happens if you let them stay? Like, does the culture magically improve? Does it get better in some way? And if you're bringing in new people and this person is ultimately, you know, metastasizing to them, then it's going to be very difficult for you to grow and scale your law firm. I don't like to really give advice on this podcast because it's like you should do, you know, it's your business. You can make the best decision for yourself given your situation, but I can say that you should probably let this person go.
I don't think we've ever seen this end well.
Here's the thing. It's going to hurt no matter what you do, and it's going to hurt when you let them go. And a lot of times you wonder, well, who's going to take on their workload? And then it's going to like spread other people thin and like, et cetera. But what you really should be thinking about, which I fear a lot of like business owners really don't think about, is what is the pain of keeping them around? And also, what is the opportunity cost of not being able to get to where you're going by keeping them around? And the longer you hold on to them, the more difficult it gets to let them go.
It's true. It will never be easy.
That's right.
All right. Thank you. Let's roll on to question number 2.
Hey, Michael, Jordan Jukes from the Jukes firm in South Atlanta. Hope you're doing well. My question is, how worried do we need to be about private equity taking over law firms in the future and really competing against those law firms that are invested in by private equity? And what can we do to fight against that or to compete with them?
Okay. All right, Jordan. So when we're talking about private equity, I'm going to talk about this for a while. Here's the way I would look at it. It's less just private equity in and of itself, and it's more about additional resources coming into legal and what that enables somebody to do. Because if you think about trying to scale a firm, and you say you have another competitor and they have more resources than you do, what they really have is, it doesn't mean necessarily that they'll be more successful than you. They just may be able to have more at-bats, and they may be able to try more things, and they may not be as constrained from being able to make certain hires or make certain marketing investments or infrastructure investments because they do have said resources. But ultimately, you also have to realize that you don't just win with resources, right? So it's, sometimes budget is actually what makes people lazy. Kind of like an internal mantra we have. I sometimes believe the more resources you give somebody, the more lazy and entitled they become. But what you should really be thinking about with private equity is, how do I make my firm more competitive? And the goal should either be to be less dependent upon me, so they can be more attractive to private equity in terms of them investing into your firm. It doesn't mean they necessarily have to buy you out. It can mean potentially that you can get some chips off the table and they can buy into the firm and provide you with additional resources and capital to be able to grow and scale. Or let's say you're not interested in that option at all. Maybe you see a future with your law firm where you may want to sell the firm, and selling to another law firm just doesn't present as many opportunities in terms of maybe you're a larger firm and there's not as many other firms that could invest the resources necessary to buy said firm, like your firm. But private equity may present a better exit strategy for you. Or alternatively, you just build a really great practice that is self-managing, it's not dependent on you, has really great systems in place, and you give yourself options. You can continue to grow and expand the firm. You can put a succession plan in place. You can exit the firm. You could do ultimately. The way I would look at it is, whether private equity is here or not, it doesn't change how you should make your firm more and more competitive. Like ultimately, maybe this creates a bit of a forcing function in the sense that if you don't do this in the near term, it's going to be much more difficult to compete, because when private equity comes in and let's say they give another firm and they give them $20 million or $50 million. And now that firm can afford to invest in certain types of marketing that may be a loss leader in the short term, but can help them gain market size and ultimately penetrate new markets. Because of that, they weren't able to do that previously. And that can make it more difficult for you to compete with them. Maybe they can stomach a higher cost of acquisition, a higher cost per case. And that becomes more difficult to compete with. So that's really what I would look at from the standpoint. But the firm that's going to attract private equity investment is generally, it's a couple of things. It's either a really well-run, managed firm where the ownership wants out, or it's let's say, a profitable, poorly managed firm where private equity sees opportunities for efficiencies and expansion by investing in said firm. Right? They can put better systems in place and better infrastructure and so on, and scale the firm because the firm is profitable, but it's run very inefficiently. Right? It can be much more profitable. So I would say the number one thing that you can do that you can control is to focus on building your practice with great systems, with great infrastructure, and to become more and more competitive each and every year. The way to be able to gauge a lot of that, we do an internal resource, the Firm Health Index, and you can look at that. But you can also look at it from the standpoint of how dependent is that firm on you in the day-to-day, not just to maintain, but ultimately to grow. If you were to go away, would the firm still exist if you were gone for 3 months, 6 months? And then more importantly, could the firm grow? Could the firm be more profitable with you out of the picture? And if so, that's a great law firm. And ultimately, what you're trying to do is really just give yourself options.
Yeah, I think that answer's great. All right, so let's move on to question number 3.
Justin Harris, Harris Law Firm PC. My question is, can you think of a single meaningful lesson that you've ever learned that did not involve a significant component of pain?
Okay, Justin, that is a good question. What's the saying? It's like smart people learn from their mistakes and wise people learn from the mistakes of others.
Yeah.
I'm sure there have been a lot of lessons that I've learned that did not involve pain, and more so from the standpoint that I was able to gain some sort of insight that prevented me from making a mistake because somebody else had, either given me insight or guided me in some way. But if I really think about it, like, is there a lesson that I truly remember? I think the memories, like pain solidifies the memories.
Yes.
Right. And pain is a good change agent. We say a lot of times you don't learn a whole lot from the wins, but you learn a lot from the losses. So it doesn't mean you still don't learn lessons. Sometimes you learn a lesson from somebody else's experience. Somebody goes out of business and you learn about all the things that they did wrong and like how you could, avoid said, pitfalls and mistakes. You're learning lessons there. But when you're going through the gauntlet and you're going through adversity, I mean, I think back like the memories that really kind of solidify in my mind just over the last 13 plus years have been all the painful moments. So I wouldn't say pain is a prerequisite for learning lessons, but I do think pain is something that definitely solidifies certain memories.
I was going to say, it makes it more memorable.
It definitely makes it more memorable. And it definitely does also drive change, right? Like someone could tell you, hey, the stove is hot, right? And you've heard this before, like, okay, I hear that the stove is hot, but if you really want to like solidify that lesson, you touch the stove, you burn your hand, and you say, oh, the stove is hot. So yeah, I mean, just to answer your question, I could easily list off a bunch of lessons that I've learned that have come with pain, 100%. Do I believe pain is necessary to learn lessons? Not necessarily. I don't think so. I used to think so because I used to think, hey man, you gotta have all this adversity to be able to grow and learn. But I would argue that one of the things that you can gain by having a great team around you and great mentors or great coaches and so on is that you can avoid a lot of the suffering that you would have to undergo if you did not have the right support team around you. It's still going to be difficult. It's still, like right now, I'm training for an endurance event, and if I was doing this on my own, I didn't know what I was doing, I'd be going through a lot more pain and suffering. It's still hard. I still, every day, you're getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, but I have a plan and I have a team around me, right? So it takes some of the suffering out of it. Not all of it, like not all the pain, for sure, but that's why I would argue that it's not a prerequisite that you don't have to necessarily go through pain and suffering in order to grow or learn a lesson.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like correlation is not always causation.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah.
All right. Moving on to question number 4.
Hey, Michael. Ethan Heisinger from Iowa. Question is, how do I prepare myself? What leadership habit do I need to develop now to be able to handle my 2026 law firm? What's going to be the habit that matters the most for me?
Oh, okay. And leadership habit for 2026. Oh, man, Ethan. All right. I might give you 2. Okay, number 1, this is easy said, hard to do. Simple, but not easy. And that is to really change your time horizon around decisions. So, for example, in my early days, I used to look at things in terms of, hey, I got to win the week. I got to win the month. I got to win the year. Like everything was based on now. Right? Like, is this decision right for today? Which may have been right for today, but may not have been the right decision for a year from now or 2 years from now or 3 years from now. And it's also because you look at things in much shorter sprints. I would advise to start like expanding your time horizon when you have some sort of target or you have some sort of goal. Let's say you want to grow, like double the law firm, like double profitability or, whatever your goals are, right? Increase average case value, put a C-suite in place, whatever that might be. And you might look at it and say, hey, I want to do all that stuff this year. Totally fine. But the things that really create stress and anxiety for us are oftentimes not the goals themselves, but the timeline that we put on those goals. And if you look at it as, okay, maybe, double the firm, you can say you give yourself a year, but what about 5x the firm or 10x the firm or 20x the firm? What if you gave yourself 20 years, right? Now you're not as stressed out. Now it doesn't necessarily need to create complacency, but now you can look at things through a decision-making framework of saying, it's the decision that I'm making now, today, when I hire this person, is this going to be the right person 5 years from now or 10 years from now? And you don't have to think 20 years out, but I would encourage you to think at least 3 years out or 5 years out when you're making a decision, because you don't have to win today as long as you win tomorrow. And patience is something that, not a lot of entrepreneurs have, but I will say that if you can put the foundational pieces in place today, because a lot of the times, like the reason why years from now you're going to have stress and frustration is going to do with the decision that you made today. And it may have been a short-term decision that wasn't exactly focusing on the long-term. And I would look at this from everything from like software, infrastructure, compensation structures, to people that you hire, to campaigns that you run. And you look at it and say, hey, like, do I believe 3 years from today this will still be the right decision? And if it is, go for it, right? And then also with the expectation of like, we don't necessarily have to win this year if we can win 3 years from now, right? Because you could set a much bigger target. That's kind of the exciting thing for me, because I could set a way bigger target 3 years from now and 5 years from now that it really excites me much more than anything we would do in a 12-month period. It also gives you time to focus on kind of the building of it, because not everything can be done in 1 quarter or even in 12 months, right? Some things take time, right, to put certain pieces in place. You can say, hey, I want an entire C-suite, right? Well, a lot of times that takes more than 12 months to be able to put all the right pieces in place for that to come to reality. But if you do it right, like, so if you rush it, you try to get it all done in like 6 months, that may not have the same outcomes if you spend an entire 12-month period going after it, or 18 months getting it right. And then you start to see the compounding payoff. That's probably number one. Number two, another leadership habit, I would say going into 2026, if you do one thing, is really looking at what is your bedtime routine. Because one of the things that's going to help you make better decisions is ultimately how you get up in the morning, whether you're well-rested, whether you're energized, whether you're recovered. And the biggest driver of that is the quality of your sleep the night before. And the biggest driver of quality of sleep is really going to be your resting heart rate before bed. And the biggest impacting factor on your resting heart rate before bed is going to be the last meal that you ate. And if you eat your last meal, dinner, at least 4 hours before you go to bed. So if you go to bed at 10, your last meal will be at 6. And if you go to bed at 8 or 9, your last meal will be, at 5?
4 or 5.
5 p.m. So I don't know, that sounds crazy, but try it and it will meaningfully improve your sleep quality, which will meaningfully improve your clarity and alertness going into the next day. And that will improve your decisions. And if you make better decisions, you'll have better outcomes. You have better outcomes. You have a better life.
Yes. Go to bed early.
Go to bed early.
That's it. All right. To close us out with question number 5 today.
Hello, Michael. My name is John, and I'd like to ask you a question about if you're a solo practice attorney and you're contemplating making a hire and you can't really decide whether your hire should be a new attorney, an operations manager, or a marketing person. How do you get started in analyzing that question? What are maybe 3 of the things you would think would be most important to start with so that you can make the right decision on which role you need the most?
Okay, good question, John. So I look at hiring. If you try to decide between like an operations person or a marketing person or an attorney, there's different types of hires you can make. There's capacity hires, which create more time and potentially greater output. There's capability hires that bring in a new capability that didn't exist in the firm before. And it's really deciding, like, do we need to expand capacity or capability? But I would even go more granular than that. And probably, this is opposite of granular, but I would just say, look, I make it simple. Which one frees you up more?
That's what I was going to say.
Which one frees up your time more?
Yeah.
Is it the operations person? Is it the attorney? Or is it the marketer? Right?
What do you want to get off your plate?
What comes off your plate?
Yeah.
Like, this is the time to be selfish. It is your firm and it is your business. And I promise you, the more you free yourself up, the more impactful you'll be able to be to the firm.
Yes.
Because a lot of the activities that are the highest and best use of your time are the ones that probably drive the growth of the firm more meaningfully than anything else you could be doing. So the goal, number one, is to free yourself up as much as possible. Then, once you've freed yourself up and everybody else is doing all the things that you used to do and you're only doing the things that you enjoy, and basically nothing is required of you because you've got other people doing them, then you can start looking at, hey, let's hire some capability hires. Like, we could use like somebody focusing on business intelligence and data and et cetera, right? Let's build a great trial team. It could be things like that. But I would look at it from the standpoint of like, which one gets you time back? And then once you get all your time back, then the question becomes which one gets the people that free you up, who frees them up.
Yes.
Right?
We have a great tool for this, by the way.
Okay. Talk about it.
Yeah. You take an inventory of everything that you're doing, every minute of every day, and how much time is it taking? How much of that excites you? How much of that drains you? How much are you doing it because you're the only one who can do it, even if you don't love it? And ended up breaking those things down and really saying, okay, where do I get energized? And all of those things that don't energize you, let's start scoping that. That should turn into your next hire.
Exactly. Think about it. Today, when we sat down to record the podcast. All these videos, all these questions had already been asked, that had already been edited. The mics have been set up. The cameras have been set up. Like, we just sat down and went go. But before that were true, right? Like, before that was a reality. Well, someone would have to reach out and get all the videos shot and then basically edit all the videos and then set up all the AV. And then we have to like design all the graphics and edit the video bits. And I'm like, look, man, I don't enjoy any of that stuff. So we hired a bunch of people, right? And freed ourselves up so we can come in and just hit record, right? But my point remains in the sense that like really think about which one is going to free you up the most.
Yeah.
So that you can focus on the things that are the highest and best use of your time, which generally are going to be the things that help to move the firm in the right direction of becoming more competitive and growing.
All right. That's all we've got for today. Thank you for all the questions.
Yes. Thank you, guys. I want to give a huge thank you to every one of our clients who submitted their questions to help us kick off Season 7 of the Game Changing Attorney Podcast. And I want to thank you, yes you, for listening to this podcast and your commitment to learning and growing as a leader.
If you found this episode valuable, here are 3 free ways that we can help you grow your law firm. Number 1, download the first chapter of Michael's book absolutely free at GameChangingAttorney.com. Number 2, you can shoot Michael a text at 404-531-7691 and ask him any question you'd like. You might just hear the answer on the next episode. And finally, number 3, if you can leave this podcast a 5-star review, it will help us gain access to more influential thought leaders and bring their lessons learned here to you. For more information on this episode, see the show notes in your podcast app or visit legalpodcast.com.